Hello and welcome back to our community discussion. It's so great to see you all back here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and alive. We hear about the heat strokes that are going through this area, and I hope that you're keeping cool. Hope that you're keeping well in all of your activities. And then there's many of them. I love you guys. Glad to see you back. We're starting up again our community discussions, and I get the privilege of leading it off this time. And we are going to be talking about kind of an interesting topic in my mind, and that is nutritional, seasonal nutrition. I should call it. Let me pull up my screen so you can see. Uh, I mean, seasonal nutrition, what do you mean by that? And it's a funny thing because, I'm thinking back maybe around two lifetimes ago, all of nature and everything we ate was based on where we were because you couldn't get food from more than about 50, or at least fresh food from more than about 50 miles away. And, maybe our maximum of 100 or 200 miles because you didn't have the transportation facilities, 120 years ago to bring food here. And so you were kind of stuck eating what happened to grow in your local neighborhood. And that's really been the truth for as long as life has been on Earth, basically. You're kind of stuck with eating what you have in the vicinity. And so everything in biology and nature, everything that grows around us also has these seasonal cycles. And life is a wonderful way of adapting to the different seasons and to the different environmental factors and everything that are taking place around us. Now, I went hiking up in the mountains. I love to hike up in the mountains. And a couple of weeks ago, I went up and hiked into an area. It was a beautiful meadow, and the whole thing had just turned a beautiful violet purple. And the meadow, all as far as you could see on the meadow, it was just beautiful violet purple. And then I looked and saw that there was little patches of red there, and the cactuses that grow in that area because we are in a dry area have bloomed, and we had beautiful cactus blooms all over the place in that area. And you can't help but wonder, my goodness, who told all the cactuses that they need to bloom? Or how did these certain types of flowers know? And then I went up the other day and I saw daisies growing all over the place, and then the red sunflowers, the small sunflowers, and so um, nature tends to have its seasonal cycles, and it has forever. And by some means, and we'll be talking a little bit about the science behind this, if for those of you who are interested. Nature adapts to the environment that it's in, and there are certain signals that tell nature what to do and when to do it. So as far as we're concerned, our growth and our metabolism speeds up and it slows down. Our biochemistry changes depending on not only where we are, but when during the day, or when during the year, or et cetera. And so being aware of this, we're able to then intelligently plan our schedules and plan our menus and such to take advantage of the different areas. And I love, Jim Rohn. I've been listening to him lately. And he says, do you know what it's going to be like in 50 years from now? And it's kind of interesting. And I said, do you know what it's going to be like next year? What is it going to be like this year? And he said, about the same way that it was last year. That was his answer. He says, day follows night, spring follows winter, all of the seasons, everything happens just as it always has happened throughout all history. Nothing is new. So here I show you some of the rings on the tree here. And the tree growth cycles, you can almost tell months of the year by these rings on the tree, and how nature changes. During the winter, the tree almost looks dead. There's hardly no growth. Metabolism slows way down, and it just has a way of holding itself in stasis and kind of a stationary thing until spring comes around, and then everything just explodes. The soil and the bacterial fluctuations, the temperature fluctuations, the ways the leaves grow and the density of the leaves, and all of that has to do with how that plant will react to its environment during the seasons. And I ask you the question, are we not the same? You know, our physical biology is not our biology the same as the plants and other life forms that we see around us? Do we go through seasonal cycles? Are there times when our metabolism slows way down? Are there times when we actually have changes in our biology and such? And the answer, of course, is yes. You know, we sleep during the night. We wake up during the day, and maybe we can adapt and change that a little bit using our mind, but the nature doesn't change very much. When we went into the water cycles also have existed for billions of years. You know, plants take up the minerals and the biological materials that are in the water that's supplied by nature. And we've learned about this in the CHC program. We need to provide ourselves with the same type of minerals and biologicals that exist in natural water in our environment and have existed forever. That is a key factor in our health. Not a secondary, that's a key factor in our health. So we start off, you know, by telling people, start to hydrate. You'll see the difference. Now, maybe many of you are kind of thinking, well, have I been doing the hydration program lately? And if you have, good for you. You know, good for you in many ways, not just, you know, me saying it, but it's good. It is good for you. And it's good for you because then you get the natural elements, especially the water that you need in order to thrive and live more healthy. So that's number one. I tell you that if you're not hydrating, nothing else works. So you start with hydration. So now let's look at a little bit. Well, plants know when to grow. You know, what kind of plants then grow at different times of the year? And the answer actually is, well, where are you? Because the plants up north versus the plants down south, South America versus Europe versus any other areas, you know, Australia, the plants actually vary in their composition according to the season of the year. So in the spring here, we get a lot of bulbs and greens and fibrous plants, you know, growing up just kind of naturally. The fruitiferous plants, like you know, like the strawberries, peaches, and apples and fruits and such, they don't come out until a little bit later. And right here, what I could see in my front yard is a cherry tree, and we go out to pick it, and we can pick handfuls of cherries off of each cluster. I mean, it's just abundant with cherries, and they're sweet and they're delicious, and it's just the right time of year. And you know, people that walk by my house, they pick cherries off my tree. That's great. Pick as many as you want, I say. And also the peaches are coming out in a peach tree. I just have a few trees in the front here. and they're delicious and they're sweet. And we're making peach juice this morning. Those types of things grow in the summer after the bacteria in the soil and such. And when on these hot seasons, the bacteria is starting to die, and the plant is using then the sugars that they would use to grow roots and grow bacteria cultures, and is pushing it up into the fruit. So the fruit is getting sweet and delicious and is ripening. And all that is governed by what? Some incredible clock. Because I know when I pick cherries that if I pick them now, they're a little bit past due, and they're a little bit soft, and maybe some of the worms have got to them. If I picked them 5 days ago, they're perfect. And so it's nature has its way. So in the summer, there's berries and fruits, the reds, blues, and yellows. And in the fall, then we get the nuts coming off of the trees. In other areas, we get the vegetables like the carrots and asparagus and such that are also browns and proteins. The vegetables also that are high in proteins come out in the fall. And then in the winter, the tubers, the potatoes, the kales, the starchy, the hardy vegetables that you maybe have to harvest before snow comes. And those are that's the way nature works, at least in this area. And I'd like to hear, from you in your area, what are the kind of foods that are growing in your area, and what kind of recipes that do you use in order to be able to take advantage of these seasonal foods in your area? Anyway, as we have seen, and as we know, we don't really need to know all of the micronutrients, beta carotene, lycopene, antioxidant, folate, and all of this stuff. We don't really need to know this on a scientific level, but we do need to, just on a basic level, understand which foods contain these essential micronutrients. And the answer, of course, is, as we've learned, that the color of the food is a great indicator of what kind of micronutrients are in the food. And so we can look around and see in our grocery stores or wherever we go. Now we might have food in the farmers markets, and I would say check out your local farmers market if you have one. Maybe a little bit higher in price, but as you pay the higher price, you also help local farming to flourish a little bit more. And the kind of foods that you have adapted to eat during the different seasons of the year are what the farmers grow. Hopefully. So that's resveratrol. I think that's misspelled. Resverator. Okay, anyway. Now also during certain seasons of the year, your metabolism changes. Now, as we all know, bears and other animals actually hibernate in the wintertime when there's a lack of food. They stock up on the foods in fall. And then they basically fast all winter long. Their body goes into a state where their metabolism slows down, body heat is regulated, their heart and rates and such are regulated, and they go into a fasting state. Us humans kind of call this ketosis, where they're burning fats. They're not eating, high sugar or high energy foods anymore. They're taking the fat buildup and they're using that as their primary source of energy to sustain life. and they have enough fat on their body so these huge animals can exist. It's very interesting. The hunger hormones come down, the energy levels to keep your temperature regulated and such actually go up a little bit. Your body heats up a bit. That's interesting. And scientists are trying to figure that one out still. You enter that fasting state. And the question is, well, is that good or bad for humans? Is a fasting state good or bad for humans? And then it kind of depends on your activity levels. We'll talk a little bit about that, or what you're doing during those periods of time. Now we have the luxury of having every food that we want available all year long. So, we don't necessarily need to fast during the months or hibernate per se. We're a little bit more, we store our foods away in the fall, and then we can eat them during the winter. And that's the kind of foods then that we usually are accustomed to eating during the winter time. That is for nature. That's the way nature has worked it. So fasting, and we'll talk a little bit about intermittent fasting also, helps to put your body into this natural fasting state that happens when you have a lack of food. Now, it's important that when we have a lack of food, we still keep up with our micronutrients. We don't need as many of the carbohydrates and sugars, but we do need some proteins in order to be able to maintain this fasting state. So that we can learn that from nature. We can learn that from hibernating bears. We can learn also from nutritional science. Okay, here's where the science comes in, guys. Science alert. Don't go to sleep too much. This nutritional science has only been around for maybe 100 years. That's it. Vitamin A, one of the first vitamins discovered in foods, was discovered only about 100 years ago. That's like a lifetime and a half of mine. 2 lifetimes ago, all foods were local for me. And, a lifetime and a half ago, we started to realize that there are nutrients that are in foods, and they started to categorize them. And then Professor Bruce Ames, who's also quite old now, was asking the question, well, what kind of micronutrients do we need to keep healthy, and what kinds? And he identified, and many others identified about 40 essential micronutrients that we absolutely need in order to live. And we're talking about a cellular microbiology. These are things that we just have to live. And some of them are very important. And the question is, well, how do we get a proper balance of these micronutrients? Because when we're scarce in these micronutrients, when we can't find them, when there are no vegetables around to eat or we choose not to eat vegetables, which is usually the case, then our body goes into a scarcity state, and it says we are starving to death, and it tries to store fats, it tries to store things, it tries to put away, unnecessary activities such as, let's say, repairing your heart or repairing your organs, or getting a more healthy body or building muscle. It puts away those type of things because you don't have enough of the micronutrients to build your body. And you go into almost a state of hunger, or a state of starvation, if you will. Your body thinks you're starving to death. And it doesn't mean that you don't have enough food. You can have quite a lot of carbohydrates and sugars and all sorts of things that you're eating, but if you're not eating enough of these things, your body is not accustomed to it and will go into this starvation state. Here's some other scientists. These are the ones that developed the cellular mechanisms, the chemical mechanisms that determine the little clock that's inside your body that changes from day to night. And at night, you're in a natural fasting state, right? Your hunger turns off for most of us, unless we've eaten too many carbs, and then we get a spike, not around midnight. Our hunger turns off. Our body goes into repair mode. We do build muscle. We do build our organs. We do repair during the nighttime, many times faster than we do during the day when we're active. So activity levels also, what we're going to do, determine what kind of things happen in our body. And we can do our intelligent diet also to match our activity levels, and that's very important. So let's get right down to it then. How do we use this information to create an optimal diet? Understanding, like I said before, that diets during the last 200 years really have changed quite a bit because we have a lot more options available. But it usually takes about 200 years for any life form to adapt to a new food source. Meaning, that we can't adapt to the new food sources, or if we're putting the wrong types of foods in our body, our body can't adapt fast enough. We get sick, we die, we get diabetes, we get high blood pressure, we get all these types of things because your body doesn't have the tools it needs, that it's accustomed to having. And so that's what kind of food sources do we need? That's really the question. What kind of food sources do we need? I'm going to open this up to everybody right now. I'm going to just put in my last little bit here. So highly processed foods have only come around recently. They're typically very high in carbs and sugars and starches. They're made to last for years and months. They're not seasonally dependent, which means you can have them anytime that you want. You pop open a box of Fruit Loops and you can have them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you wish. A lot of kids do, and I just, I see them opening up. No, please. And but that's what they want, and that's what they want for their primary nutrition. Interestingly enough, we also have highly processed animal feeds now. They're more convenient to package and to ship. They're highly controlled. The reason that they're cheaper, these highly processed foods, than the natural foods, you can imagine, you can think, well, natural food, you pick it off the ground and you put it on a plate and eat it. These processed foods, you grind them, you stretch them, you put in all sorts of ingredients, you go to ship them into all over the country, all over the world, and then you process them, and then you pull out the nutrients, and then you make them into powders, and then you push the powders around, and that's a lot of work and a lot of energy, and we're doing all of this to create highly processed foods. And the question is why, and why are they not more expensive? And the answer is, well, they're subsidized by government. Our taxes and our governments subsidize then these processed foods. It's interesting. Another reason is that they're storable. They last forever. They often have preservatives in them, and they're predictable. They're controllable. You can control the amount of, and in doing all of that, we're trying to second guess nature, and most often we get it wrong. So as far as energy goes, it's actually less expensive to grow and utilize local food sources. Less expensive and more abundant. You know, agricultural practices, they say, make more food, but they grow less food per acre or per area than we do. So they also give us an excess usually of carbohydrates, which our body does not need. And so we turn them into fat and whatever. So the answer, part of the answer, we need to learn how to prepare electrolytic water that's like the natural water that's in the streams and rivers that used to be pure and clear and pristine on our planet. And we need to also look at the local micronutrient sources. Now, I'm not going to get any more technical than this, but I am going to turn it over to you, and here's some of the questions. What are some of the seasonal foods that are in your area? How do you prepare them? What do you eat in the different seasons of the year? Here's an interesting question that I want you to answer for me. What is the best season of the year to fast? And is intermittent fasting beneficial? And then you can actually tell us some of the things you like to prepare in your recipe. So I'll be quiet and turn it over to you guys. We can start with the first one. You know, what are some of the foods that grow in your area, in your local areas during this different seasons of the year?
Hey, Gary, this is Jackie. I'm on Maui
Oh, wow.
visiting my mom. She's had hip surgery, so I've been here to help her. She's recovering well, but I'm excited to share. I've been looking for rhubarb in Virginia, where I live. Anywhere that I'm going, I'm asking about rhubarb because I had a wonderful experience with that a few years back with my dad shared and apple rhubarb pie that he had found at the store. So ever since then, I've been on the journey of where and what can I find with rhubarb, and they're growing it here on Maui at this little market. They were selling it, and it looks like celery, right, with some red. And I wanted to make sure that that's what it was because I'd been asking this summer and nobody has it. And then they had some other fresh berries that they were growing, and I want to make a five fruit pie, and which would be the rhubarb and the apple, like I first learned, and then berries and a couple other things that I can't remember that I had in that one pie, but that's like my favorite now. So maybe like make little tarts or make a jam, or I hear you can do like stews and things. So I'd like to hear recipes on that. I don't have any of that. I'd like the savory over the sweet, but I thought I'd ask. Thanks for letting me share.
Oh, thanks. You want me to tell you the source of rhubarb that I have? My grandma's garden. We used to plant it all the time. Can't eat the leaves. The leaves are ugly. They're toxic, but the stalks are great. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to introduce it to my mom. She loves her gardening, right? Let's see if we can get some. I'll have to look into how to do all that.
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. In Utah, besides the gardens, I haven't seen rhubarb. Hmm, you're right.
I've been getting it I mean, I haven't been getting it. I just saw it last week. I love it too. They used to have it at Knott's Berry Farm with their big chicken dinners. We used to
Oh,
go
wow.
there after Disneyland. We'd go to Knott's Berry Farm for dinner. Anyway, but yeah, I just read the leaves are poisonous actually to humans and animals, so don't eat them. But the thing about rhubarb, and I just want who just shared a minute ago? Who was just talking?
Jackie.
It's Jackie. Hmm.
Jackie, I just I have this woman's cookbook. Anyway, it turns out she lives up northern California where and has a farm. Like, she teaches about growing your own vegetables and things, and she's got a newsletter with recipes, and I have a page where I opened it up, and there's like these rhubarb recipes. So I don't know if you want to put your email in there or something. I'll just forward the page I'm looking at, or copy and paste it or something.
Go ahead. We'll put it in the recording.
Okay, let me go mix my drink, and then I'll come back and do that.
No,
Okay.
you can stay on just after
But
you're
that's the
done.
thing.
Yeah.
Huh? But that's the thing. I don't know what you just said, Dr. Gary. What did you just say?
Well, you don't have to do it now. You can wait till later.
Okay. But that's the thing with rhubarb is, and I love strawberry rhubarb pie when you mix it with strawberries. It's just, this woman says like they're like married or something like that. They just born to go together. But the thing is, it's so bitter. Then you have to use like soak it, the recipes, and you soak it in sugar. So I'm thinking, okay, I mean, can you use stevia? Like, what can you do? And anyway, so I got that question,
Yeah.
Dr. Gary.
Natural sugars are not too bad, especially if you put them in preserves and such. Natural
Really?
sugars.
What do you mean?
Natural sugars are like the brown sugars, that are not processed, not the white sugar.
Hey, that's what I used to
So
do.
brown sugars, yeah.
Okay, so it's true. Okay.
Yeah,
So they're good, doctor, even if you make like jams and
I don't think you can get away with making preserves without a little bit of sugar, because the sugar helps preserve them, actually preserve them. And the same thing with salt, by the way. You can't make jerky or beef and preserve them without salt.
I have a cookbook. It's old, so I don't know, but about putting things up with honey, making preserves with honey. And I think honey is actually like 3 times sweeter or something like that. So you use like a third the amount or something. I haven't made it, but I don't know if that book's still in print, but I can find out about that too.
Oh, go ahead.
date syrup too. The molasses, I think they call it, but from dates. And dates are very healthy.
I love
right.
date sugar. Yeah, they dry them and grind them up. Date sugar they make too.
Sugar and carbs are not bad. They're just too many of them. If you're eating a half of a plate with vegetables and then you have some carbs and sugars on the other side of the plate, that's fine. Meaning that's fine as long as they're not processed, and then you get too much of it. I'll tell you, let's talk about activity. If you're going to be highly active during the day, you can eat some carbs and sugars, right? But if you're going to just sit down and fold laundry or walk around the house, not a good idea to eat a lot of carbs and sugars. They're not going to do you any good. The most, the micronutrients rich foods are great when you don't have a lot of activity. So when is that? When are you not most active during the day? Well, maybe in the wintertime. They're during different seasons. So you may want to avoid some of the high carbs and such during the winter times, and go more toward the proteins. Yeah. Well, by the way, the fruits themselves have natural sugars in them. They have fructose. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead. What were you saying about putting honey in the preserves? That sounded interesting. Has anybody?
And also, Melody was talking about mixing her drink, and I'm thinking, about fixing a rhubarb drink. I don't know. I'd like to experiment with that.
Oh, that rhubarb pie you were mentioning sounds so good.
Yeah, and my drink actually has, I mean, I haven't told you guys about this stuff and all the nutrients in it and everything, but they put it in a drink, you know, and to make the drink sweeter, there's fructose in it, but it's not, it's like from dried apples. So I worry every morning when I drink this. Just everything else in it is so good, but I worry about it like, oh my God, am I like ruining myself because I'm getting this fructose every morning? But it's not like high fructose corn syrup.
Mm.
So
Well,
I'd like to know what you think about that, Doctor.
how can you tell? I'm going to open it up to you guys. How can you tell when you've had too much sugar?
You feel awful.
Jittery.
I feel great when I have this.
Yeah, you usually have a crash afterwards. You have too much sugar, and then you feel hungry
I
after.
get sleepy.
That.
Yeah, it lasts about 30 minutes, and then the sugar runs out, and your energy goes way down.
I actually feel nauseous when I've had too much sugar.
Oh, wow.
But it's pretty good if it's mixed with chocolate. Let me find it. Oh, so anyway, that talking about with honey. No, I have a book because because it looks so cool to make preserves and stuff, even though I've never done it. but I found a book that says putting it up with honey. But I'm telling you, it's 20 or 30 years old. I haven't made it. So I don't know how to tell you anything about that. I could.
Those might be some of the best recipes, Melanie.
Okay.
Just because they're old, don't discard them.
Oh, right. No, I mean, it's in a book.
Yeah,
I can't like get that right now, but it's
you're lucky to have it.
okay. I just meant I can share that at some point, the name of it and everything, but I'm sure it's got to be out of print.
Oh, yeah. If it's out of print, you might be able to just copy it and send a copy to us.
Copy? It's thick. It's a book.
Well,
You may find it online. Who knows?
yeah.
Right. You can, yeah.
Let's
Okay.
check it out.
But the
Or you
other
can
thing I'm gonna figure out right now to put in there that, this thing with the rhubarb.
You can copy some good recipes and send them to us.
Yeah.
I only with a camera or something. I don't know how to do that on my computer.
But you can do it on your phone, can't you?
That's what I said, only with the
Yeah,
camera on my phone.
that's fine.
Oh, you're gonna force me to look in this book. I haven't opened it up for 30 years. I don't know. I wanted to say something else, but I don't know what it was. I'll come back.
I'm
I
interested
know.
in your. Okay.
That this other lady, it's going to be great to find her anyway. But that she just wrote this whole little thing about rhubarb, that like her father loved rhubarb and had, I don't know. I'll put it in there. It's very interesting.
Oh, okay, cool. When do you usually have rhubarb pie, by the way? Just a curiosity.
It's now.
Right now, in the
It's
summertime.
happening right now.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why her recipe's there right now.
It's interesting. We're talking about summer type foods right now. The berries, the apples, the the pies, the fruits.
Soon we will get the dates because of the heat, so like around end of September, that's when the dates start here in the desert. They need that heat to ripen.
But it's interesting, like, because like Dr. Gary said, like in the summer, like, you're out, you're doing more, you're using more energy. And that's interesting. That's when the fruits are ripe. And I tasted some cherries, like, that my boyfriend bought at the regular market, which they're calling a farmer's market, but I guess it's not so much. I don't know. And then tasting it at the farmer's market, oh my gosh, what a difference.
Mm. Yeah.
And they have fruits I've never seen before, like oh, I don't know what they're called. They're like a little tiny
Oh,
microscopic clump of grapes, you know what I mean, hanging. I've got some dried ones too. I'll look it up. Okay, I gotta let you guys talk.
all
I
right.
shop at a co-op, which is kind of like a farmer's market. And because we get all the local farmers delivering to the co-op, which I'm really happy about, especially in this day and age. We don't know necessarily what's in our food anymore. But I saw something the other day that I didn't know what to do with it, or I didn't get it. But has anybody ever done anything with gooseberries? They look really strange. And I don't know if anybody else has seen those before or not, but
Well, I've had them in England.
okay.
They are delicious, but it was like they probably did something to them, or I don't know what, like they kind of something, maybe they served, I don't know if it was with fish or they had it with cake or something. And I looked up the thing that the market with they're mulberries. Oh,
I've had mulberries, yeah.
they don't even look like a berry. They're like a little microscopic hanging
Great.
grapes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
but what a flavor. Oh, and they have purple ones as well as white ones.
Mhm. I used to get those. Actually, I was always walking on them as a kid for some reason, where I was. I grew up in Ohio, and we had mulberry bushes or trees, whatever, all over the place, and they would drop, and you couldn't help but step all over them, and what a mess. But yeah, they are flavorful.
And I guess that was good for the earth, right, Dr. Gary?
I,
Then
yeah, I'd never had mulberries. I know that our cherries out there and our apricots are giving us a little more fertilizer than now. So,
I was going to bring up one more. This my mother-in-law, because what you just said, I don't think I've seen apricots growing, so I thought I was going to embarrass myself and say something about that, but instead, my mind has come around to pineapples, and my mother-in-law was saying something about, she's passed now, but about the pineapple trees here. Does that get anybody's attention? Okay, well, there is a tree that's not really tall, but we use the leaves to make mats and things like that, thatching and stuff. But the fruit, it looks like a pineapple, but it's not. And they will take that apart, and now they make lays and things, or you could use it as it dries for the brush for like painting, the old way. But pineapple grows on the ground, right? From the crown, and then it branches off the babies and the cakeys, we say. So I'm assuming the apricots grow like peaches. I don't know.
yeah,
Never seen one.
yeah.
Okay. But
really?
that's very interesting.
So did you say you live in Hawaii?
I am from Hawaii originally, but I'm just here visiting with my mom. So she's 85 now, and I came for her hip surgery, but it's become more than that as the rest of her health, eyes, ears also. New doctors, they close their doors, and if you live long enough, they retire or whatever, move on, and just helping to reestablish her in lots of different ways. So my son's here, so he's been here 2.5 years. He was born here, and he says it's just warmer here for him. He's it's good. I feel better that she has someone here with her. So, but she's doing great. And anyway, that's why I brought up the pineapple. We have the best pineapple here, and man, goes in everything. When I go back to Virginia and I go to the store, it doesn't grow there, right? So it is not going to taste as good. But I'll take what I can get, right?
You need to find a kahuna there.
Yeah, it's interesting. We haven't heard a lot about like kale, spinach, carrots, peas, all of those things that are also seasonal, but they come in the fall. Interesting. For me, it's really interesting because here we are in midsummer and we're talking about berries and pies and preserves and fruits, pineapples and all that. So that's really cool. That's interesting.
I think salads are big for summer. They're easy to fix. They're light. They're refreshing, and you can even put fruit on a salad if you want to. But salads are good. I mean, you could even put carrots on the salad too. Of course, carrots cooked and carrots raw are both good either way. So
cucumber in the summer also. I mean, in winter you don't need
yeah,
it.
right.
Cucumber and yogurt with some nuts.
Oh,
Dried
yes. I love the yogurt and the blackberries and the blueberries. You mix a little bit of with that Greek yogurt, a little bit of honey in there, and you might put a little granola and some blackberries and blueberries. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's great.
You could put some cherries in too.
Oh, I do that on my cereal, and I put cherries on my cereal.
As a kid, I used to climb cherry trees and pick cherries from the top parts a little bit, only because kids are the only ones that are climbing them usually.
Yeah. They're sweeter on the top.
Oh yeah.
So,
Are they really, or is that just
no, I'm serious. They're sweeter on the top because they get more sun or whatever reason I get.
It makes sense. Yeah.
I tell you another thing that I've learned. I love that. I hadn't thought about things on the very top, and I'll go two things. One is my mom has a lychee tree. I don't know if anybody knows about that, but I've been here since April, and so my mom keeps saying it needs to be picked, and we can't reach it. So my son had to order one of those poles, but I'm waiting for it to get the cherry red color. And it has, hues of red and still green. And I'm thinking it's not ripe. So I don't know. Certain seasons we have, I think, sweeter fruit or more fruit, or anything growing. Like she has gardenia. Last year they had nothing. This year is coming out what they say, whatever a wazoo is, whatever. But anyway, and speaking of that, flowers, I mean, gardenia you can't eat, but there are flowers, petals, things that you can't eat that are edible, right? So I forget which ones those are, but they go nice in a salad too.
Yeah, I've got a flower book I've got all kinds of things with flower recipes. I love roses. Oh, they're so yummy. You just got to make sure you don't get sprayed ones. But and the French do a lot of that. They get the essence of it, like rose water,
yeah.
orange blossom water and stuff.
Of course.
And I take other recipes, like I don't have any alcohol or anything like that, so I sometimes make recipes that are supposed to have like fruity alcohols or something like that, and I'll make it with a orange blossom water or something like that, and and probably stevia or something. Anyway, or, you know, if it's got to be sugar, I'll usually use honey, but I like dark honey, like I like avocado honey. That's really interesting too. The different honeys that come from different plants taste different. It's so interesting. And then at the farmers market here, they have these people like Middle Eastern, I forget where they're from, but they make these, it's like a yogurt, the kind that you drink, and also like a, you know, a one that
Kefir.
spoon, and they blend these different fruits into it. Most of them don't have sugar, but the chocolate with hazelnuts one has a little but I have one in the fridge that is, one's got raspberries mixed in it, one's got blueberries, so it's actually that color. It's just this fruit mashed in with this stuff.
So yogurt and fruit.
Yes.
Uh,
But the one I have, one coconut and lychees, and they chopped up the lychee nuts and put them in there. Oh, it's incredible. So lychees, I don't know, I thought lychees were in the winter, but because
How do you spell that,
fresh stuff.
Melanie?
So, what?
How do you spell that?
Lychee?
Yes.
I think it's
CH.
Lychee.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's Lyche.
Oh, that could be.
LY.
That could be.
Yeah.
That's why I asked, because we pronounce it lychee, and I'm sure different things are pronounced differently, but lychee with the LYCHEE is it might look like a nut if you're
But it's
talking
not
about
a
it being
nut,
a
right?
nut.
It's a fruit.
No,
It's a fruit, yes, a white, sweet flesh.
Yeah, and it has a big seed.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this just came. I was looking at Facebook the other day, and this woman, I don't know, she had these ravens that kept coming to her house, and one time, and so she befriended them. And then one day, one of the ravens came and started spitting out these seeds, and she didn't know what they were. And I thought to myself, I know what those look like. They were lychee seeds. How interesting. And so she didn't know why, but so Jackie did
Giving her a gift.
exactly. So Jackie, you were saying you've never seen an apricot. Well, they grow on trees.
Yeah.
I used to cut apricots up in Fairfield.
Yeah, we have one. in our
And
backyard.
one of the things that I've noticed about fruits is that because now you can get anything any time of the year. So here we're talking about seasons, but I guess, you know, different places in different parts of the world have different seasons. And so now fruits and vegetables and things are grown all year round. But my thing is that I think they're being picked too soon, so that when you get them, I mean, they're hard as a rock. And if you let them set, you know, to hopefully ripen before they get rotten, I don't know. I just like the other day I went to Costco and they had some papayas from Hawaii. So, okay, great. Because I only buy things from certain places or that come from certain places. And the papaya, I'm sorry, it's better in Hawaii. So, I'm just kind of disappointed in the fruits and vegetables right now. And being in California, we grow things all the time. So, but I think just from this discussion, I think maybe just going to the farmers markets would be probably better. But then I think you have to consume them within a shorter amount of time, you know, so.
Right. Well, I'm going to try to give you a little bit of benefit from these seasonal foods, an idea of benefit in the last couple of minutes we have here. And that is, you know, if we do put the effort into eating the local foods, just as we're done before, you know, throughout all of history, pretty much, all of human history at least, before processed foods, what do we expect to happen? And this is interesting. You know, we've been chatting back and forth about different types of foods, especially the summer type of foods that we have. And if we do eat local foods and we do eat them when in the season that they're available, when they're ripe, then here are some of the things that we expect. Here are the causes of death and suffering in the world: heart disease, stroke, chronic pulmonary disease, and we have also diabetes and kidney diseases and other things, which are all terrible sources of injury and death. 80% of these can be prevented. And how are they prevented? By doing exactly what we've been talking about. By getting the natural foods that our body needs at the time that they're available, and then using them to our advantage. So, you know, we say, put aside the cereals, put aside the chips and the other processed foods if it looks like it's been spit out of a machine. You probably don't want to use it as your primary sources of food, right? And then 80% of cardiovascular diseases, diabetes didn't even exist hardly. Many of the problems that we're having these days are tied to nutritional disorders and toxins in the environment. You know, they're regional. The death and disease rates are regional and can be explained by what we're eating, also when we're eating them, and such. I would love to eliminate that suffering from our world. I think that it needs to be done. It's easy to be done. It's actually easier to be done than to go through that. It was kind of kicking against the common conceptions of, you know, what causes disease and what we need to do to keep our body well. Medicines don't do it. Only thing that is going to do it is diet, exercise, sleep, hydration, and doing the proper things with our bodies. And that's the only way. And why do I say that? And how can I say that? Because that's the way the body was built to work, period. So there's great benefits to doing these things. And I hope we do it, you know. Make them delicious.
And can I say one thing about redox molecules are absolutely fabulous, but you can't live on redox molecules alone.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So spread the word. I will I'll see you then next week. And
we need a part 2 on this, maybe.
We'll continue on. You want to have part 2?
Yeah, I think we could, because
we'll
look
talk
how
about
we've
vegetables. We'll talk about vegetables.
So,
yeah.
you know,
I'll tell you about pea tendrils.
If there's enough interest, I'll go into foods that help prevent disease or something like that.
Absolutely.
That would be great. That would be great.
Okay.
I put the link in there. Go grab it for this edible marin, blah blah blah.
Okay,
You know,
very good.
Everybody
Okay.
get that, but and I just want to tell her, go down. There's little pictures on that front page where you get to strawberry and avocado salad, and there'll be that's where all the stuff about rhubarb is.
Okay, I'm sure you can find rhubarb somewhere. Yeah, go ahead, Peg.
One of my go-to things is a banana and blueberry smoothie. I mean, you know, I'll put a little milk in there, and blueberries and a banana. You get all your sugar, and you got your antioxidants and your potassium and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of my go-to things.
Banana and dates also shake. That's great too.
I guess we better all come back with the recipe.
All right, yeah, come back with some mouth-watering recipes. We'll see you then next week. I don't know if we're going to have a follow-up with this one. I have to check with the boss here. And but at some point we'll have a follow-up also.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you for everything.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Everybody, have a good week.
Take care.
take care.
Good weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.